Welcome to JHart Modelworks. We're in the home stretch, guys, and it's time to finish up the Revell Dodge Viper SRT-10 convertible. Welcome to my workbench. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is cut off the rear view mirror, the fog lights, the side mirror faces, and our headlights. We're going to toss them into a small pot with some cheap grocery store brand bleach to strip away the chrome. If the sprue nub won't be visible on our finished parts, I'm going to leave the parts on small pieces of the sprue to make them easier to mount to paint sticks and paint up. We'll just toss our parts in the bleach, put the lid on, give it a quick shake, and we check on it in about an hour. It should be stripped clean. Now moving on to the lights, we're going to start by putting some bare metal foil in these taillight recesses. We'll just cut a section of foil about the size of our recess. Then we're going to press the foil into the recess, starting with the center. We're going to come back in with a cotton bud and work from the center out, working it down nice and smooth all the way out to the edges. Once we have it worked up with the cotton bud, we're going to come back in with a sharp toothpick to get the edges nice and clean. Next, we want to come in with a brand new scalpel blade and cut right along the edge of the recess. We want to take our time and be careful, and with a brand new blade, we need no pressure at all to cut the foil. We can then remove the foil and then go back over and burnish it back down with the cotton bud and the toothpick. Anytime you remove the foil, there's a chance you can lift it. Also, there's a little bit of excess left in here. We want to trim this off so that it doesn't interfere with the lens. The center brake light area is a little too small for bare metal foil, so we're just going to paint it with some Vallejo silver acrylic. And painting over the 2K like this, we can just clean the excess off with a wet cotton bud, leaving a clean silver recess. We're going to be using Bob Smith Super Gold Plus for all of our glass parts. And I'm going to use a little bit of jewelry wire to place the clear in this recess since it is so small. We can then carefully set our rear brake light in place. And then we can move on to the tail lights. On these modern cars, I like to hit the edge of the glass with a little bit of a black Sharpie. It gives it the look of having a rubber seal there. To try and be inconspicuous with my glue, I'm going to apply it just to this edge and the corner. And then using some blue tack, I'm going to set the lens into place. I sprayed the back side of the turn signals with some Mr. Hobby Super Metallic Super Fine Silver, and then sprayed a coat of Mr. Surfacer Black over it. This is going to block any red from showing through the clear turn signal and gives us that rubber seal look at the same time. We're just going to put down a little bit of super glue here in this recess. And it wouldn't be one of my videos if I wasn't out of frame when I was putting in a part somewhere. We're looking good, but check your fingers constantly for glue. It's very easy in the final assembly to mess up all that hard work we put in the body. Now onto the front headlights, we're going to put a little bit of glue just on the bottom of this front recess, and then we're going to use some blue tack to set it into place. I use blue tack a lot, especially during final assembly. It's like having a tiny little customizable hand. You can mold it to a tiny point, it grips beautifully, and it releases easily once you have the part in place. A blob of blue tack is also super useful for holding small rounded parts in place while you set the clear lenses. We'll pull off a small little piece, use it to hold our lens while we add a little bit of super glue, and then we can set the lens. To glue the fog lights in, I'm going to put a tiny drop of glue into the mounting hole from the back side. We can then drop the fog light into the opening from the front and set it down firmly into place with a cotton bud. We want to make sure that the mounting post goes all the way back into the hole and the fog light sits all the way into place. The kit has no window mask, so we're going to make our own, starting with using a permanent marker to draw an outline around the shaded area we need to spray. Now when we lay down our tape, we can easily see our marks and draw out our masking line over the tape. We aren't going to take the tape completely off. Instead, we're going to pull it back and use some UMP airbrush cleaner or some IPA and a cotton bud to clean the marker off the glass. We will then use some scissors to cut the tape along our marks. And because we didn't completely remove the tape, when we rub it back into place, it should line up perfectly with our shaded masking line. With the first side in place, we'll just pull the other side up and repeat the process. And now we have a perfectly lined up mask. After masking off the front side of the glass to prevent any overspray, we'll use some tape to form a small handle and put it on the front side of the glass. Alright, we're back from the booth and we want to carefully remove our masking to see our perfectly masked off windshield. To set the windshield in place, we're going to place a couple of drops of Bob Smith Super Gold Plus on these two lower mount points, and then just a couple of drops inside the window frame along the top, and spread them out with a toothpick to get the glue super thin so it doesn't squeeze out and get on our glass. We can then use extreme care and set the glass into the frame. The really nice thing about this kit is when the glass goes in, it locks itself in place so there's no slipping or sliding around. Using our calipers, we need to take a measurement of the rear view mirror. We can then press the points of the caliper into some Hasegawa mirror foil in 2 spots. We'll then use a metal ruler as a guide and cut along it between the 2 sets of points to get a perfectly straight strip of foil. We'll rub the foil into place on our mirror and then trim off the ends and reburnish it. Always reburnish foil after you cut it, especially this Hasegawa stuff. It doesn't always like to stick all that well. Next up, we'll place a drop of glue right here on these little mounting points on the window frame and carefully set the mirror into place. Then we'll just give it a little tweak toward the driver. Remember, the rear view mirrors never point straight back. Alright, next we're going to put a little glue inside these side mirrors so we can glue our mirror faces in. We've re-chromed these with some Duralumin brand chrome from Digital Armory. This is a great chrome. And to glue them in, we want to add a tiny bit of glue into the hole from the inside of the body. We want to use just enough glue to get it in the hole, but not enough that it oozes out the other side and makes a mess on our body. This way, when we press our mirrors in from the outside, the glue will catch and lock them into place perfectly clean. Before we can make the body, we need to work the hood into place. I found that trimming the driver's side pin down a little bit made this a lot easier. Revell wants you to glue the interior tub into the chassis. We're just going to set it in place. It holds snug once the body's on, and being loose will give us some needed wiggle room here in a minute. We set the front in place, and the rest of the body just slides into place with just a little bit of wiggling on the sides. But if your rear fender looks like this, the back end is not fully in. That's where having the ability to wiggle the interior a bit helps us press the chassis the rest of the way into position. Next up, we need to assemble the sides and the rocker panels, and the fit with these mounting pins is absolutely perfect. Once the side is assembled, we can add a little bit of glue to the 2 mount points on the body. Then we need to tuck the top of the side panels inside the body, then locate the top mounting pin and rotate the rocker down into place. Test fit this a few times before committing to glue to get this motion down. The kit comes with 2 tops, one in the upright position, which honestly I'm never really going to use, and the other in the top down position. Both of these just slide right into place with no effort at all. I've 3D printed a really nice set of AP racing brakes. I have a nice set of Brembos as well, but I like these better because these are a 2-part brake and it makes them easier to paint. We're just going to drop a little glue on the rotor and the calipers slide perfectly into place. We'll then add a little glue to the inside of the wheel right around the mounting post, and we'll use a piece of 4mm tube to press the brakes all the way down into the wheel. Before we install these awesome 3D printed Icon 6-speed wheels from Real Rims on Colts 3D, we want to make sure we have the tires lined up so that the arrow pattern in the center points towards the front of the car. We can then add a drop of glue to the wheel mounts and press the wheels into place, making sure to line the calipers up towards the middle of the body. Moving on, we have some decals we need to place, starting with some custom-made registration stickers dated March 23rd for the month and year we completed the build. And of course, all the cars in my dream garage get toll tags. At this point, we can remove the tape holding the hood down, and we can choose from our 3 hood ornament decals. We have a choice of red, black, and silver. I went with the black. A few hours later, I decided the decal looked so fake I couldn't handle it, and I used some tape to rip that sucker right back off. Revell needs to step up their game and give us some metal transfers. Along with registration stickers and toll tags, I also made some custom Texas license plate decals. I'm going to apply one of them to some aluminum I got from the inside of an energy drink can. I'll then use my Xuron photo etch shears to cut the license plates off, trim away the excess, and don't forget to notch those corners. Next, we're going to add some 0.03 inch photo etch bolt heads from Protect to the top of the plates. These are a great touch and add that extra little bit of realism to our plates to really make them pop. We can then add some CA glue to the license plate point on the back of the car, and I'm going to use a silicone brush to maneuver it and hold it in place while it sets. Wait a second, we aren't done yet. I'm also going to add a 0.04 inch bolt head to the trunk lock right next to the plate. I usually use a 1.2mm top studio rivet, but I just decided to go with one of these instead. Alright guys, here she is, all wrapped up, and I am ecstatic with this result. That Gravity Color High Octane Red, I know it's a more modern Charger or Challenger color, but I really think it's a perfect fit for this car. We also have our stripes in alclad steel, which honestly I expected to be a bit more metallic than they are, but they look great, and I was pleasantly surprised at how the gray fits in with this red. Let's take a quick look at our interior, and this three-tone black, gray, and red came out great. There's just enough red in there to give it a little punch. We have our custom Texas plates and our registration sticker marked March 2023 for the month and year we finished the build. The chassis and suspension look fantastic. We have our engine with our 3D printed fuel injection rails. Oh, it looks like we got a little bit of dust or maybe some silver paint up in there. We'll clean that up after the video. But again, guys, as that magnificent modeling bastard Charlie would put it, I am completely chuffed with how she turned out. I don't really know what's coming up on the bench next. I have a couple of ideas for some how-tos. I also have a couple of quick curbsides I could play with. One of them was one of my Holy Grail kits, which I just got in, and I think would be really cool, quick, week or two long mojo booster, but it's an exotic, and I really need about 200 more watch hours, and you guys don't really like watching the exotics as much as I seem to like building them. You guys seem to really prefer when I build like the muscle cars and such, so maybe I'll do something else, like maybe the 58 Corvette Roadster or the Fus Impala. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But for now, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I always appreciate you taking the time to watch and build with me, and I'll catch you on the next one.